What happens when you take an airgun brand name that was born in the 70s and marry it to an airgun manufacturer that came about in the 1800s and put it in the hands of a vendor that came on the scene in the early 2000s? Coming up. AEAC is made possible by Air Venturi, Hawk Optics, Diana Airguns, FX Airguns, Daystate, Air Arms, Sports Match Rings UK, H&N Sport, Aztec Optics, and JSB Predator Pellets. And you guys know the best way to thank them. Alright guys, now the Beeman R9 comes to us from Germany, and it is the sister gun to the Weirau HW95. Here in the United States, it's available in 177, 20, or 22. It measures 42.5 inches long. By itself, it weighs 7.5 pounds. As you see it here, to include a scope and mounts, it weighs in at 9.1. It's available in this walnut-colored beechwood only. It ships with an owner's manual and 6 front sight discs. It comes with a lifetime warranty, and you can pick one up from the good people at Pyramid Air for around $400. Now the R9 is powered by a coil spring propelled piston that's good for about 17 foot-pounds of energy. It gets there by pushing a 12 to 18 grain pellet between 808 and 634 feet per second, with extreme spreads in the 10 to 25 foot per second range, about 100 shots into the 1,000 shot break-in. Now the rifle also takes advantage of a hooded front sight with those 6 interchangeable discs, a rear sight that's adjustable for windage and elevation, an 11mm dovetail, an ambidextrous Monte Carlo stock with rubber butt pad and plenty of fine checkering, and a dual stage match grade fully adjustable record trigger with auto resetting safety. So, can this classic live up to its name, and can it still be competitive in today's market? Short answer, yes. The Beeman R9 compares more than favorably with today's modern airguns. And that's saying a lot, because its record trigger is based on a German design that came about in the 1950s. And the DNA of the gun itself came by way of a joint venture between Beeman and Weirau that started back in the 70s, and marked the first of its kind. Today, Air Venturi under the Pyramid Air Group owns the Beeman name, and that's where the limited lifetime warranty comes from. Not to be confused with Beeman Marksman China, under the SR Industries Inc. That's a different company altogether. The product itself is exemplary. It's nimble and well balanced and feels pleasantly small. Load up is smooth, convenient, and easy, and the locking wedge slaps into place with a confidence-inspiring rigid clack. Oh, and then there's the legendary twang. The vintage bonk that disrupts the central nervous systems of air gunners the world round. Me, it never bothered. It just adds to the nostalgia of it all. The cocking stroke on the R9 is flawlessly slick and smooth, and a well-designed wedge locks it up tight, assisting in repeatable accuracy. I snugged the stock screws up once a little over 100 shots back, and they haven't moved since. But the same couldn't be said for the adjustment screw on the record trigger. It likes to wander towards lighter around the 1 pound setting. So if I were to own this gun, I'd secure it with some sort of non-permanent thread locker. If you're new to AEAC, pellet speed is tracked with Doppler radar, from the muzzle all the way on down to the target in set increments. This allows the audience to determine leaving and arriving energy levels, as well as ballistic coefficient. Shooting an 18 grain pellet will get you the 17 foot-pounds this gun is capable of, and will do so at the expense of some drop. Two that worked well for me were the H&N Barracuda Hunter and JSB Jumbo Heavy. There's a misconception out there that all spring guns benefit from one-piece scope mounts, or that they are required even. And that's just simply not so. I decided to challenge this thinking with not only a set of mounts, but ones that are adjustable, and that are made up of several moving parts that are locked together by tightening, like these Sportsmatch ATP 66s. The key seems to be using a good quality mount on top of a receiver that accepts a recoil stock pin. Weaver Picatinny ought to accomplish the same thing, so long as the mounts are of good quality. My original thinking was that they would also help with barrel droop, but in the R9 there was none. With the Hawk Air Max SF30 ocularly centered, the point of impact was only about 1.5 inches low at 25, and I was able to use the adjustments in the rings to dial that out, which enabled me to leave the scope's internal erector tube in its most resilient positioning. All good things for the owner of a spring gun and an expensive scope. Alright guys, now all of these vintage spring guns really sound about the same, regardless of whether their barrel is shrouded or not. Now unless you're breaking the sound barrier with your pellet, there's really no report to speak of, and all of the sound that emits from the gun comes from the releasing of that bound up spring. The H&N Terminator was probably my best pellet, but mileage may vary, so you'll want to do your own due diligence. For the backstory on mine and the sharing of discovery and approach leading up to the making of this video, you can visit AEAC on my other YouTube channel, AEAC Vlog. I'll share things there that won't make it here and you won't want to miss out. So the first thing I'll do is I want to get the barrel lubed up before I pull one of these little felt buttons through. And I'm going to pierce the patch right in the center. These patches are 1 3/4 inch diameter. I'll usually start on a 2.2 with a 1.5 inch patch because you can't always get the bigger 1 3/4 inch patch through. And you see that collar sits right up against that patch, and it's going to press into the outer walls of this barrel, and it's going to scrub it really good. So there's the first pull. Let's have a look. So this is the first pull after all of that garbage that I put through it, you know, to do the call, and there's not a single lead shaving on here.
So yes, there is a difference between the Chinese Beeman is Beeman Marksman, where the German-made stuff is Beeman Precision. So back in 2009 or so, Air Venturi was able to strike a deal with the company that I believe took over for the original, you know, from Dr. Beeman when he sold the company. That company kind of owned both for a while, and the plan, my understanding at least, was to have that kind of precision stuff die off, and Air Venturi jumped in and said, like, hey, this is a great product line that needs to stick around. It has a lot of great history here in the U.S. and we want to keep it going. So that's what they did, and they struck a deal basically, and have had kind of that Beeman precision line ever since.
Also, wanted to mention this. So, why not? Slugs are starting to come across my desk to put through these pre-charged pneumatics. I've been very curious how they would do in a brake barrel. This is the first brake barrel I've put them through. I put all the ones I had through, the JSB knockouts, the H&Ns, the lighter weight NSAs, and these FX hybrids. This did about an inch group at 25 with the 17.5 grain NSAs. I did 2 groups of 5 to kind of verify that. But it absolutely loved these FX hybrids at 25 yards. I mean, we're talking 25 yards, a 12 foot-pound tear at like 450 feet per second with these bad boys. And I think that I could have gotten all 5 through the exact same hole at 25. And I'm pretty sure that that one that strayed by just a little bit was on me. But for whatever reason, this German barrel is having a love affair with these. I don't know if it has a practical application anywhere. Hawk's done a good job with the Air Max 30 SF Compact. At 11 inches long, it's certainly so. And its 3 to 12 by 40 side focusability is all you'd need, coupled with its mil-dot reticle. According to Hawk, it is Springer rated, and with over 100 shots on it now, so far so good. I'm really appreciating its smaller size to keep the weight down. And the turret's side focus, ocular, and magnification are all nice to operate. But the parallax setting on this one was off by about 10 yards at 25 and 25 at 50. Kind of a big deal if you're using that side wheel for ranging. If not, no biggie. You can get them in a 6 to 24 by 50 and a 4 to 16 by 44 too. And they're all available at Pyramid. Basically, you're in the $350 price point. Multi-coated optics and a glass-etched reticle keep things crispy. And its 30mm tube helps in the low light. Overall, I really like it, and it got along well with my eyes, but not so much my scope cam. Focusing on reticle and object together at any range was a challenge for it at 10x, but not so much in the lower magnifications. It did better there. At the heart of the R9's performance is its German-made record trigger. And this one came out of the box breaking at around 2.5 pounds. But to get the accuracy out of the gun that you're seeing in this video, I had to refer to the owner's manual to get that break weight down more to my liking. Now the first stage take-up is clean and light, and it does come up against a nice, clean, defined, and resettable stop. And with just a tad more pressure, off it goes. .7 ounces. If you're seeking the ultimate speed and power for your R9, then the Predator GTO lead-free could be your ticket. Its tin composition and 11.75 grain weight really agree with this gun. And it has the added benefit of shedding velocity quickly, which is an attribute when backdrop is a concern. It's also a non-toxic element. A fringe benefit that I'm recognizing as pattern now is that the GTO's tin skirts don't deform in freight, and neither do their bodies. This alone could be the reason that they perform so consistently well across so many brands of airgun and different types of airgun barrels, so long as the winds are down and you use them at relatively short ranges. The only drawback I found is that the harshness of the R9's shot cycle is somewhat enhanced, likely due to the pellet's reduced weight. And don't let anyone convince you that a lighter weight lead-free alloy can't deliver the downrange energy. Clearly, there are other factors at play. Some springers are just super easy to shoot. Well, that's all for today, guys. And special thanks to Pyramid Air for getting the R9 into my hands to review for you. You guys know the best way to thank them for that one. Now from here, y'all want to head on over to the Airgun Nation forum so that you can participate in the discussion thread on the R9, the Hawk Air Max scope, and the Sports Match Rings UK adjustable scope mounts. I'll leave you a link on how to get there in the description down below. So with that, I'm Steve Shalley. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great week, everyone.